Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Some startling video from the North Vancouver Fire and Rescue Department demonstrating a backyard fire caused by just one discarded cigarette butt. This as hot and dry weather takes hold this summer. What are the fire risks you're concerned about around your home and community? That's up first. And our pet segment is back, and we'll take your questions about puppy behavior. Your queries about canine conduct after 12:30. I'm Michelle Eliot. This is BC Today. Thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1 using the CBC Listen app or on cbc.ca/BC. You can listen or watch our live stream. Welcome to you watching us as well on CBC Gem and on YouTube at CBC Vancouver. And speaking of our live stream, we would love to showcase your dog in about half an hour from now. So you can email us a photo and we'll put it up on the screen. So that's bctoday@cbc.ca. You can email us right now, just in time for our pet segment, bctoday@cbc.ca, and that starts in just over 20 minutes at 12:30 Pacific. Right now it is 12:07, 1:07 in the Mountain Time Zone. And if you are listening on radio, you might want to log on to our live stream right now, cbc.ca/BC, on YouTube at CBC Vancouver. You'll be able to see this video we're about to show you. It was shared by North Vancouver Fire and Rescue, and it is pretty startling to see just how easily a fire can start. Now, this is security video from someone's backyard, and it shows a worker putting out a cigarette in a garden bed. Now, things look fine at first, but over the next few hours, the cigarette butt keeps smoldering. And 6 hours later, the hedges start burning, and within just 3.5 minutes, the hedges are engulfed in flames, and embers are jumping off in all directions. Luckily, the homeowners noticed. They called 911, and as you can see there on the live stream, they are working frantically to hose down the fire. Fire officials say things could have been much worse, and North Vancouver Fire and Rescue did share that video to educate the public. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, the city's fire chief says there's no chance of 24 residents from an apartment building in Mount Pleasant of being able to return to their building that was destroyed by fire last night. Now, that fire started sometime after 8 o'clock and filled the area with thick smoke. One resident described the moment she alerted her neighbors.
And I ran up to the third floor and I saw all the smoke, and I'm banging on the door telling them, get the hell out of here now.
Now, there are no reports, thankfully, of serious injuries, but a number of people had to be rescued by firefighters. That building may have to be demolished. Vancouver Fire said it appeared flames might have broken out in a suite that had a, quote, heavy load of combustible materials inside. Now, as we hear about that fire and the fire risk as described by North Vancouver Fire, the province, of course, continuing to experience drought conditions, and we do still have water restrictions in place. And now, just this morning, Metro Vancouver announced it would be moving to a higher level of water restrictions in a week from now, next Friday. That will be stage 2. And it means all lawn watering with treated tap water will be banned. So that's all lawn watering will be banned. And that starts next Friday. 12:09 now, 1:09 in the Mountain Time Zone. We are talking about this half hour, from cigarette butts to barbecues. We want to hear from you. What are the fire risks you're concerned about around your home and community? And what are your questions about fire safety and prevention? You can call us now, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. On your cell phone, star or pound 690. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. And joining me now is Steve Serbic, the fire chief for the township of Esquimalt. He also has 20 years of experience working as an operations chief for the Surrey Fire Service. And Steve, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Michelle. How are you doing?
I am well. Thank you very much for being here with us. Now, you are joining us by video. You watched that video from the North Vancouver Fire and Rescue. It was released yesterday. Perhaps for our radio listeners, you can go through a little bit what you took from that video.
Yeah, you heard Chief Hutchison talking about what the crews arrived to, and you heard them talking about how dangerous it is to butt a cigarette out anywhere outside. But that video is super powerful. It reminds us, the safest way to put out a cigarette butt is to water it down. Same with ashes. You never put it out in the grass, especially in July and August. You just don't do that. And that's a very, very good example of how fast fire can spread. And you could see the one gentleman there with the hose. He's not going to knock that fire down with that hose.
No, it looks, minuscule compared to the size of the fire in front of him. And so even ashes are a concern.
Yeah, wet them down, water them down. And if you're going to smoke outside and then water them down, and have a container, something that's not something that would burn. It's super stable, got a big base. And then, just wet them down. That's the safest way to put out cigarette butts.
Okay. And Brian Hutchison is a fire chief in North Vancouver, and he's part of that video that the department put out, as well as a means of public education about the risk of fire from, yes, just one cigarette butt. The person in the video, the worker, obviously thought, things were fine. He thought he had put out the cigarette in the soil. How deceiving can that be? You said you really need to water it out, but can you tell us why cigarette butts are so dangerous?
Well, he shouldn't have put that cigarette butt out in that area, because that probably would have been mulch. And with the dry conditions we've been having, I know we've got some rain, but you need a lot of rain to bring conditions back where our crews in Greater Vancouver are going to brush fires daily, and they're going because somebody threw a cigarette butt out and it hit an island in the middle of a roadway, and they're responding to those calls every day. So multiple brush fires in every city in July and August.
Is that right? From discarded cigarette butts. Do you think people just don't know or forget, or what's happening there?
I think they don't understand. That's why that video is so powerful. I've been deployed several times in wildfires, and we had a fire and we were trying to figure out where it started. And there had been a campfire a quarter of a mile away, and BC Wildfire showed up, and they dug out a trench that it had worked underground for days and started in a different area. Like fire, it'll work its way. You can't be throwing cigarette butts out the window and putting them out in hedges.
Okay. All right. Well, there's, some important information for people out there right now, but we'd like to hear as well from you. What are your main concerns when it comes to fire risk around your home? Have you seen people throw out discarded cigarette butts in a careless way? When you see that, what goes through your mind? We'd love to hear from you. And how do you think we can send that message that people need to be more careful? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. On your cell phone, it's star or pound 690. Our email is bctoday@cbc.ca. And now you mentioned this as well, Steve, that the mulch would have been really dry. I've 3733. Gloria is joining us from Prince George, where it is certainly dry. Hi, Gloria.
Hi, how are you today?
I am fine. Thank you very much for calling. What did you want to say about fire risk?
My pet peeve is actually seeing people flick their cigarette butt out. And what I do is I will lay on my horn and I will continue on my way. And once they turn off, I stop with my horn. But it's all the time. And there's no age limit to that as well. There's no age limit whatsoever. All people have to do, if you want to smoke, put a wide mouth juice container in your bottle, in your vehicle, put some water in it, put it in there, and put the lid on.
Have you ever had a reaction from, this is from a car, right? So have you ever had a reaction?
Yeah. One guy, he was much like, I would say his late 70s, early 80s. He actually waved, so he got it. But I think they do realize it. Some people, the look on their face. And the other thing is you see people driving with their windows down with their cigarette in their hand, half out the, window as well. Anyway, just one of those things I do. But it is annoying, and it's dry.
Why does it concern you so much that you do that?
Because they're starting fires on the side of the roads.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do it on pavement, I mean, there's grass all over the place. You're going to do it anywhere. Like that's a habit of flicking it out.
Okay. Gloria, thank you very much for the call from Prince George.
So I'm the one that honks the horn in Prince George.
You're the one. Okay. And do you ever worry that you might cause, an altercation of some sort?
Nah. I don't go that long. It's
okay. Just a quick.
I don't get that carried away. Yeah, okay. But they definitely know it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
No tempers flaring. Good. Okay, Gloria, thank you so much for the call from Prince George. It's a good call, actually, Steve, because people may, as she said, is her pet peeve. You talked about how those cigarettes flicked out the car windows can cause those brush fires. So what would be your suggestion for what people should do?
Yeah, I think people should remind themselves that at this time of the year, you need to change your habits, because that's a habit and people just don't think it's going to be an issue. And in Prince George, super dry at this time of year. I was speaking at a high school in McBride in May, and they had a wildfire, and it was caused by cigarette butt. And so people can lose everything because you threw one cigarette out the window, and people don't think like that when they're throwing it out of their car or putting it out in a park, right? They just don't think like that. And so I think it's just a different way of thinking, and it's an awareness. We should maybe do a little bit better at making people aware.
Are there fines for throwing out your cigarette?
There are, not by the fire department, but it would probably be by bylaws or police, but I don't think they're ever enforced. And I think it'd be very hard to enforce. I think maybe, a commercial or a campaign just reminding people, hey, it's really dry. Here's that video. That's advertisement right there. People who watch that video, it's super powerful, right? And, you don't always get to find out why a structure fire starts or what the cause of it was, but you can usually figure it out when it's in the middle of a roadway or in a hedge and there's no electrical. It's usually because of smoking and a cigarette butt. It's not uncommon.
Okay. In the city of Vancouver, discarding cigarette butts on the ground is littering and subject to a minimum fine of $100 up to $10,000. But your question is about how is that enforced? We have another caller now to talk about fire safety, fire prevention, and the risk as well. What are your concerns? Kathy is joining us from Castlegar. Hi there, Kathy.
Hi. I just want to say that I live in a 65-unit condo complex, and we're not like an apartment block. We're like twoplex, threeplex, side by side. But we, working through the regional district, are fire smart. Our whole condo unit is considered fire smart.
What does that mean?
Pardon me?
What does it mean?
It means that an assessor came into here. We walked through all of our area, and then they addressed and told us what were the biggest hazards. And so we have been working and cleaning out all of the evergreen type trees or shrubs that were in here and replacing them with non-fire, like plants that won't support a fire.
Wow.
And in Castlegar itself, there have been many units just like us Mary Creek is another settlement that has a bunch of houses in it and is considered a complex. And it's our fire department working with our regional district, and we are Fire Smart, according to Fire Smart Canada. And that's just such a good program.
Fantastic. And I'll get some more information from Steve on that. What kind of reassurance does that give you, Kathy?
Oh, it's great. We actually thought there was a fire up on the mountain behind us, just a few blocks up. Fortunately, it was across the highway and way further up. But when that call went through here that the fire could be above us, it just is heart-wrenching. And then to know that we have eliminated every possibility that we could. It's such a good program, and our fire department was so instrumental in getting this done with the help of a man from the regional district who is a mitigation specialist.
Kathy, that's great to hear. Thank you so much. And I'll get some more information on the Fire Smart program as well. Thank you very much for the call.
You're welcome. Bye.
And Steve, yes, do tell us more about Fire Smart and what people can do to attain of it for their own residents.
Yeah, the Fire Smart program in BC is amazing. Your listeners or viewers can go to firesmartbc.ca, and there's a home assessment tool on there that guides you through fire smarting your house, your complex. It's a really, really good program. And like Kathy said, in Castlegar has done an amazing job. I got deployed to Logan Lake in 2021 as a task force leader, and that community had been fire smart. And it had been for many years, and it made a massive difference. We didn't lose one structure in that deployment.
Wow.
Every home was, the yards were cleaned, the wood piles. So firesmartbc.ca, your listeners and viewers can go there and check it out. And it's a really, really well done program that guides someone through the process if they've never, looked at their home, especially in the remote areas. The Castlegar is a leader in the province when it comes to fire smarting.
Okay, that sounds like a great program. Any specific tips before I go to our last caller here? Any specific tips people can just do right now?
Well, that video is super powerful, and I think a lot of people have been seeing stuff about, lithium-ion batteries and,
Yes.
fires around that. And I have some friends in New York and LA County Fire, and they've been getting crushed with those fires. So I'll just leave you with some tips that you might not know if you if you are worried about lithium battery charging. New York has had hundreds, and they have changed their laws around charging.
And these would be for electric bikes and things like that?
Yes, devices. Yeah, a lot of them come in from people buy them on Amazon, and they get drop shipped or sent directly, and they don't follow the same standards, the CSA standards, and they catch on fire when they're charging. So I'll give you some tips around charging batteries, and hopefully it'll make a difference. And I would, and I'll leave the smoke alarm message to the very end. But never shoot. So if you live in a condo or a building, never charge, say, your electric bike near an exit. So have it somewhere where it's away from an exit. If you are having bikes in your house, you could have an extinguisher, but make sure you have a working smoke alarm in that room where those bikes are being charged. Don't charge them at night when you're sleeping. Charge them in the day, so if there is something that happens, you'll be able to see it. Call 911 right away, and that's the fastest way to deal with that. Charge them in a controlled environment. Don't charge batteries on a windowsill in the sun. Don't ever alter a battery in any way. And you know what? Just make sure your smoke alarm in your house is working if you have a lot of things that you're charging, because it is. We're unsure of even how to put these fires out, to be honest. You watch like Tesla's and LA County and the challenges they've had. It's a changing landscape for sure, as lithium-ion batteries have caused a lot of fires. And a lot of deaths. You saw the ones in New York recently, a lot of deaths.
Yeah, really, really good advice. So for charging batteries, if you're in a condo, never charge your electric bike near an exit, not at night when you're sleeping, and charge in a controlled environment. Don't alter your battery, and always check to make sure your smoke alarm is working. Firesmartbc.ca is the website as well. I'll also mention that Vancouver Fire and Rescue has suspended all burn and explosive permits as well. This means that with the exception of the celebration of light, no fireworks are permitted in the city. So don't expect the usual post-game show if you're heading to the Vancouver Canadians coming up tomorrow. And that is because of the ongoing dry weather. Steve, really, really good advice. Thank you so much for joining us. Just for this reminder, as you say, for people to be more careful and mindful of those cigarette butts, but also what people can do in terms of fireproofing their own homes and their batteries as well. Really useful information. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Michelle.
That is Steve Serbic, fire chief for the township of Esquimalt. He also has 20 years of experience working as an operations chief for the Surrey Fire Service. This is BC Today. We're on CBC Radio 1, live streaming on cbc.ca/BC, on YouTube at CBC Vancouver, and on CBC Gem as well. I'm Michelle Eliot. Thanks very much for being with us. And coming up, our Pets column is back, and you can call in with your questions about dog behavior. Our dog behavior expert is back, professional dog trainer Sarah Shapiro-Ward. We would also love to see an adorable photo of your dog and showcase it for our viewers online. Just email us the photo. bctoday@cbc.ca, bctoday@cbc.ca. And that's coming up after this CBC News Update with Michelle Morton.
Good afternoon. Here are the headlines from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Saanich police have identified the man whose body was found in Oak Bay this week. 33-year-old Stephen Charles Middleton was found in an area off Beach Drive Wednesday morning. Police continue to investigate and haven't said if his death is a homicide, but that it is being treated as suspicious. BC Emergency Health Services says 5 people were taken to hospital and are in stable condition following a major fire in Vancouver's Mount Pleasant neighborhood. Vancouver's fire chief says there is devastating damage from last night's blaze due to an older 3-story apartment building on East 10th Avenue. The fire has left 40 people without homes. The fire department says one of its personnel was among those hospitalized. And Metro Vancouver will be moving to a higher level of water restrictions as of next Friday. Stage 2 will prohibit lawn watering and with treated tap water, but using recycled rain or grey water is permitted. The Metro Vancouver board says water consumption across the region since May is about 20% higher than last year. Anyone caught violating the restrictions could face a fine of up to $500 per offense. And in the forecast, sunny today with highs of 23 degrees, except 28 if you're inland, and some clouds for this evening, cooling down to a low of 16.
Michelle, thank you very much. Now, I believe you have pets in your home, don't you?
I sure do. My fur babies, Waffles and Henry, my cats.
Your cats. Okay, no dogs.
No, I wish. If it was up to me, I'd have a horse, I'd have a dog, all inside my condo.
No room, but that's okay. They can be cozy.
No, I just need a little more space, but so far, so good.
Okay, 2 cats. Well, we're going to bring in a cat expert in a few weeks, so perhaps you want to stick around for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll see you back then. Michelle, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is Michelle Morton from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. And yes, every second Friday, we bring in an animal expert to take your questions about your pet and pet care and behavior. Well, today we are bringing back certified professional dog trainer Sarah Shapiro-Ward to take your calls. She's with When Hounds Fly Dog Training. So give us a call now, 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733 on your cell phone, star or pound 690. You can email your questions about your dog's behavior at bctoday@cbc.ca. And as I mentioned, we're taking your proud dog photos as well. Share with us. This is your chance to brag about how cute and adorable your dog is. So email us the photo, bctoday@cbc.ca. We'll put it up on our live stream here. Who doesn't love looking at dog photos? That's again, bctoday@cbc.ca. I understand we have been getting pictures already, so I cannot wait to see them. And Sarah Shapiro-Ward is here with me in our studio. Hello, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me back, Michelle. It's nice to be here.
Very nice to see you again. Today you want to talk about puppy socialization.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's something that I'm thinking about quite a lot because my dog is a year old in August, 1st of August. So this time last year, I'm excited for her. This time last year, it was all about puppies for me. So it's something that I'm remembering and thinking about And I think it might be helpful to talk about as well.
Yes. And so what does it actually mean when you say puppy socialization?
Such a good question, because there's such a misunderstanding of the term puppy socialization. I think a lot of people think it means getting your dog meeting people and meeting dogs and playing with dogs as much as possible.
Sure.
But it's actually establishing a healthy routine and getting your dog used to the environment that they're going to be growing up in, which is very different than just saying hi and meeting lots of dogs.
Right, that's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, it's what a lot of people think, and actually it can get us into trouble. So for example, if you think about an adult dog, the routine of walking down the street, you probably want your dog to pass quietly by people and dogs. Whereas if you have a puppy and you're thinking about letting your puppy say hi to everyone, your puppy's gonna learn to say hi to everyone who passes by, play with all the dogs, and then when they're an adult, they'll be confused and frustrated when you don't allow them to play with all the dogs or say hi to people. So you get into trouble, right?
Okay, all right. So what are some ways we can ensure that doesn't happen then?
Yeah, so for everyone, if anyone's thinking about getting a puppy, I always like to think about, well, what does my dog's life look like in a year? What does my adult dog need to be able to do? And from very early days when you bring your puppy home, start getting them used to those routines. So for example, if you want your dog to be able to calmly pass other dogs in the street, practice that from the beginning. If you want your dog to come to the office with you, practice that from the beginning. And also practice things like taking naps at the right time. So if you have a dog-friendly office, you probably want your dog to nap most of the morning and then the afternoon with a little break in the middle. So establish that routine right away. And for people who aren't taking their dogs to the office, establishing some alone time routine is important too. A lot of us take off time when we get a new puppy, a week or so, right, to settle them in, which is awesome. But then our dog isn't used to being left alone, and the first time it happens, it can be kind of freaky. So when your dog is really young, getting them used to that routine of this time of day you take a nap and I go outside and I do my own human things and and then I'll see you later. Getting that started from a young age, that's puppy socialization.
Wow. Okay. And I imagine that a lot of people have gone through that, the office thing, having gotten a pandemic puppy as they were known and staying at home and then returning to the office, that would be something that they would come up against.
Yeah, and that's been really hard for our pandemic puppies because even with the best will in the world, socializing your puppy during the pandemic was really hard. So a lot of us were faced with completely different routines. And even when we went outside, the streets were quiet. There weren't that many people. And now it's busy and there are fireworks and there's all this stuff going on that wasn't happening before. And our dogs, who are now 2 and 3, they're freaking out. It's really hard for them to learn to cope. And that's something that a lot of people are experiencing. So if you're experiencing that, you're really not alone.
I was walking down just outside CBC here the other day, and I saw 2 people, each of them had a pug, and then you could see them start to go and really play with each other. So I was really observing how they were, thinking about socialization, what that behavior would be like. Taking your questions about dog behavior to professional dog trainer Sarah Shapiro Ward from When Hounds Fly Dog Training, and she's back to take your questions about puppy behavior. Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, star or pound 690 on your cell phone. And we are taking your questions and puppy pics to BC Today at cbc.ca. And can't wait to showcase them throughout this half hour. Let's go to our first caller now. Heidi is joining us from Kelowna. Hi, Heidi.
Hi there.
Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
We have a standard poodle that's a rescue. She was a breed dog, and she's terrified of thunderstorms. She did $3,000 worth of damage to our drapery one evening when we were out, and there was rolling thunder. And she tries to crawl into bed with us when there is any murmur in the sky whatsoever. And she doesn't just stay in one spot in the bed. We'd be happy to have her in bed, but she tries to lay right on my head, and she crawls about, and she trembles, and is just so terrified. We don't know what to do with her.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah, and I've seen and heard those, magnificent thunderstorms in Kelowna. They are loud, and so, poor
it's
thing.
something else out there. I thought they were bad over here until I heard them out in the
Something
interior.
different. That's right.
It's not surprising that she's really afraid. Those thunderstorms are scary, and if you're a dog and you don't know what's going on, it can really seem like the world is falling apart. And I have a standard poodle too, so I have a soft spot for them for sure.
This is your 1-year-old?
Yes, my
Okay.
1-year-old is a standard poodle. But yeah, there are some things that we can do to help. So it does sound like she's seeking your comfort when there is a thunderstorm. So when it's happening, she's like really trying to get close to you, and she's trying to, you're her safe space, and she's trying really hard to regulate her anxiety by seeking help, which is it can be difficult, for us. But on the other hand, that's why she's doing what she's doing. And then when you're not there, that's when the destruction happens, because there's no way for her to feel safe, and she's just trying to escape because she thinks that the world is ending. So in cases with thunderstorms, there are some things that you can do. It's really tough right now because it's like thunderstorm season.
Yes.
But when the weather changes over the winter and through the next year, you've got lots of time to train before it starts happening again. So don't forget and don't do the training. Like, that's the right time to train. But what I would suggest that you look into is, number one, helping her feel as safe as possible. So having like a cozy spot in your house as far away from the sounds as possible, which I know is difficult, but having some soundproofing. Sometimes the basement helps if you have a basement. Sometimes just setting up a crate in the very middle of your house where the weather as far away as you can really help to get away from things. You can also try and block out some of the noise by using like a white noise generator or something similar, putting all the fans on, or playing loud music. Your neighbors are going to think you're a little bit crazy, but sometimes that can help. And then on top of that, when you're doing the training, what you want to do, and again, it's exposure to routines, right? If anyone in Kelowna is getting a puppy, play them thunder sounds on good speakers. So speakers that kind of have a little rumble to it.
Okay.
That's really helpful. And your phone's fine as well. And then feed your dog lots of treats when you're playing the sound. Because what happens over time is your dog starts realizing this rumbling, it happens from time to time. It's normal. And when it does happen, I get something good. So I often like to cheat. I use a little frozen Kong or a bully stick. And when the rumbling's happening, it's something good for my dog. Now, if the rumbling is too much, your dog won't eat. So it's a good way of knowing how stressed they are. You put your rumbling on over your speakers and your dog goes and hides. The rumbling is too loud. So lower that sound down until your dog can tolerate it and eat treats and feel comfortable. And then as you practice, you're going to increase the noise over time gradually. Now, there are some other things that you can do. If your dog is really, truly anxious, you can talk to your vet about possibly getting some anti-anxiety medication. Now, that's something that your vet would help you with. I'm not really
sure. Yes,
I don't know a lot
Absolutely.
about that stuff.
Yeah.
But I know it can help some of my clients' dogs. And the good thing about modern technology is you can kind of see when the thunderstorms are coming. So you can predict them and you can be prepared.
See how you can muffle the sound.
Exactly. Don't leave the house during a thunderstorm if you can help it. If you can't help it, maybe organize someone to come around and just check on your dog. And then, prepare as best you can.
There you go, Heidi. You're right. It is thunderstorm season in Kelowna. And really, that's what I love, is how logical your advice is. So that kind of training, positive reinforcement, and try to get your puppy to associate thunderstorms and thunder sounds with a treat, and try to get to that point where she can tolerate it. Heidi, thank you very much. Good luck to you. We are taking your questions about dog behavior to dog trainer Sarah Shapiro Ward with When Hounds Fly Dog Training. Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733 on your cell phone, star or pound 690. By email, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. You can email us your questions and your pictures as well, so we can showcase them to our viewers. Chris is on the line now from Victoria. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Very good to have you. Thanks so much.
We have an 8-year-old lab mix. She's a super sweet dog, but she is a little bit anxious, just in general. She's not at all fearful of people, but seems to have a real major problem with the vet, not our vet in particular, just any vet. She seems to have a sense of when she's going to the vet, when she's in a vet office, or even if a vet is looking at her outside of a vet office. And she completely freaks out. We were just out of the country, and we needed to take her to a vet for an injury, and she wouldn't let the vet anywhere near her. We actually thought she might bite the vet, and she's never showed any aggression towards people other than in that kind of a scenario. We've used trazodone to sedate her, but that doesn't work. The only thing that has worked in the past is completely putting her down to take her to the vet, which I know can be a little bit dangerous. So, simple things like treat reinforcement at the vet and stuff like that doesn't work at all. She's getting on in age. I know she's going to need vet support as she gets older, and I'm just not really sure what to do at this point. I'm looking for some recommendations from Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Chris. It sounds like she's really frightened if she's acting that way. And I really like that you've noticed already that, vet care as your dog gets senior, there's going to be more the older your dog is.
Yeah.
The more routine checkups they have, the more little things that change and you kind of panic about. So going to the vet becomes more of a thing that you have to do in your life. And you seemed a little bit surprised to know that, Chris's dog is recognizing vets even when they're not in the vet.
outside the vet office. Yeah.
Now, that's something that happens because dogs have this incredible sense of smell and they are very perceptive. So the smells of the vet office is probably what's giving it away.
Wow.
To the
That's
dog.
fascinating.
So
Okay.
there's lots of things. I mean, going to the vet and trying to give treats at this point, we call that over threshold. So the dog is over a certain threshold of anxiety where
Yes.
treats just don't cut it. And it's kind of like, if you're driving and someone cuts you off and you get really stressed for a moment there, if someone tried to hand you a cookie and say, hey, do you want a cookie?
Right.
You wouldn't feel better about
Not
the driving situation.
Yes.
It's not the right time to eat. So that's kind of probably what's going on at the vet. This dog is saying, this is not the time for treats, and it's a lab, so it's a pretty big deal.
Yes.
So that can be really, really hard. And the best way to go about it is to really break it down as much as humanly possible. So the smells of the vet office, what you could do is you could visit the vet without your dog there and just hang out for a while. You start smelling like the vet.
wow,
Or you can bring something from the vets that smells like the vets. But what I tend to do is I tend to go and hang out in the parking lot. It's not close enough to the vets to be really scary, but you go there, you hang out outside, the door opens and closes, your dog's worried, but they're able to take treats, they're able to smell the environment, they're able to get a bit more comfortable, and then you go home. So I call this cookie visits at the vet. We're just going for cookies. And usually dogs will start associating places positively if you're feeding them. That's what I think we talked about this last time, that's what the pet store does. You feed cookies and your dog pulls you to go in. So if you can't do that in the main vet office, just doing what you can around the vet is the first place to start.
Wow.
Now, on top of that, there are some specialized vets who are fear-free certified, and that's something that I would look into, Chris, for your dog. Going to a fear-free vet, they have programs in place to help your dog feel comfortable. So whether that's doing a procedure over multiple very short visits, whether that's meeting in the car park before you go in, there's lots of little ways that they help your dog relax and feel more comfortable. So I would have a little look and see if you can find a fear-free certified vet to work with, because they deal with this stuff all the time and they have really good training plans.
Okay, so look, maybe Google fear-free certified vet. Well, really great advice. So again, it's almost being able to associate positive experience.
And
with
if it's too much, breaking it down into its component pieces.
small treats, small
Exactly.
cookies.
Small scary things, lots of treats, and then
There
build
you go.
them up.
Really good. Chris, thank you so much and good luck. And I hope that your puppy, your dog actually is able to go to the vet without feeling that fear pretty soon. Again, our number is 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, taking your questions about dog behavior. And we have been also taking your pictures of your best friend, your puppies and your dogs to our email, bctoday@cbc.ca. We have been getting a lot. How gorgeous are these photos?
They are so cute. I keep looking away,
It's
and
distracting.
it's very hard to focus with so many cute dogs.
Oh, how adorable. Oh, my goodness. If you can describe, perhaps, I'll just acknowledge our photos from Ian Lowe, Donald Derrick, Glenn Bennett, Ross Bander, Louise Werney, and Karen Fedlock. Tell us about the dogs that you're seeing, and you can tell us about the breed, perhaps.
I'm so bad at.
Oh, are you at
recognizing breeds.
identifying?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
saw a duck toller a little while ago. This guy to me looks like a Pomeranian, and I'm not sure, some kind of hound or maybe a Dachshund.
Yeah. beautiful golden color
put me on the
anyway,
spot
with
there.
a nice dog collar there.
They
I'm
are
just trying to describe
all
for our
very
listeners. If you are listening on radio, you are missing out on some cute puppy photos right now. You can go to our website, cbc.ca/BC, and or go to YouTube, CBC Vancouver. Just adorable photos being shared by our audience. Thank you so much for sharing them with us. You have made my day anyway. It's BC Today at cbc.ca. I'm sure for a lot of our viewers as well. Let's take some more questions now for Sarah about dog behavior. And Lindsay is joining us from Summerlin. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
So I have a bit of a weird one. We have two puppies from the same litter. They're 15 months old. They are a mix of St. Bernard, Bernese, and Retriever. And one of the puppies continually pulls the hair out of the other puppy. And the one that's getting his hair pulled out, he lets him do it. And the one that's pulling it, he actually eats the hair.
Okay.
After.
That's definitely
It's
a weird
really
one.
weird, yeah.
I've got to say that's a new one on me, Lindsay, which is pretty impressive at this point. There are some things though that that stand out to me from what you're saying. So the first one is you have two puppies from the same litter, which is something that's notoriously hard to do. So pat in the back for you for raising two puppies at one time. Like usually one is enough. You're pulling out your own hair, so having two, that's it's a pretty big deal. But there is something that falls under this called littermate syndrome. There's not a lot of evidence, like scientific evidence or literature about littermate syndrome, but the suggestion seems to be that when you have two puppies of the same age in the same household, usually from the same litter, what can happen is they become kind of weirdly codependent, and they're not very good at taking time alone to decompress. So they bond really closely with each other, and then they do actually need some time alone. They need time to sleep. They need time to sniff and explore, but because they're always together and they're always playing and they love each other, they don't really take the time to meet those needs for kind of independence and alone time. So one thing that I may suggest is just to have a look at your routine and make sure your puppies are sleeping enough. Make sure that they've got their own separate activities. So, you know, you're taking one out for a walk, you're spending some time bonding with one dog, and then you do the same thing for the other dog. That can really help. And then the last thing that kind of really stands out is the actual behavior itself. So pulling out fur and eating it. When I see that in a dog, and usually it's one dog, they pull out their own fur and eat it. Clearly your dog's worked out that they
found someone else.
Yeah, exactly, right? They got a little something there to pull out. That's a stress behavior. So when we see that, that's typically stress. And people do it too. People pull out their own hair when they're stressed. They don't typically eat their hair, but dogs are like that. They tend to tack that on there. But yeah, pulling out hair, that's something that is really associated with stress. So I would be looking for any areas of stress in this dog's life. Like I said, littermate syndrome maybe at the root there, and a little bit more sleep and a little bit more independence may really help, especially sniffy walks and walks out in nature, just relaxing. That can really, really help. But if you can't find the source of the stress, checking with your vet as well, because sometimes it's allergies, sometimes it's an upset tummy, sometimes it's, you know, something medical.
Something physical,
yeah, but you know, dogs can't tell us when they have a headache. They can't really tell us when their tummies hurt a little bit. So a lot of the time we see weird behaviors and we go, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it turns out to be something medical. So that's something that I would look into as well.
Go to the vet, try to reduce stress, time apart from each other. Lindsay, thank you so much. I hope that helps. Thank you for calling in. And let's go to our last caller of the day. Lori is on the line in Surrey. Hi, Lori. Welcome to the show. What's your question for Sarah?
Hi, I have a almost 16-year-old cockapoo. Her name is Roxy, and she has been displaying some anxiety, maybe early dementia symptoms that are driving us crazy. We've created a lot of routines in the house, you know, dinner times and certain, you know, walk behaviors and that. But what she's doing now is barking at 3 a.m. to, you know, to eat or to go outside. And so we'll put her outside, but we don't want to start those, you know, feeding behaviors at 3 a.m., obviously. And she used to walk around with a toy, and we would go away.
Okay.
You know, But now she's doing it while we're in the house as well, and we're not sure how to calm her or how to deal with these behaviors.
Lori, thank you so much. I'm going to jump in because we just have a couple of minutes left. I'd like to give Sarah enough time to answer.
Yeah, my other dog is a cockapoo, so I've had both today. Soft spots touched. Yeah, 16 is a marvelous old age for a small, medium dog like that. And unfortunately, when they do get older, there can be some signs of, I think they call it canine cognitive dysfunction or disorder. Again, this is something that a vet, well, you need to get a vet on your show and talk about this stuff.
We have, and we will soon again.
Sometimes routines can help for sure, but a lot of the time they just don't know what's going on or when is appropriate. So routines are very helpful to try and help them really understand what's happening when and where. And then also checking on eyesight and hearing, because a lot of the time at this age they are losing their senses. So sometimes they were getting information in one way to help indicate what's going on, and now if they can't see or hear properly, it's more difficult for them to determine what's happening. So checking, their senses and making sure that they're able to interpret life can help too. But if it is something like a cognitive decline, then that's something that you need to talk with your vet about. And sometimes with older dogs, the senior years are a little bit chaotic. We have to kind of manage the behavior. It's not going to be perfect.
Adjust to new things. Lori, we do have Dr. Edelman coming back in a few weeks as well. We had her on. She specializes in senior dogs, in fact. So perhaps you can give us a call then as well. I hope that you do find some solutions, though, before then. Thank you so much for the call. And Sarah, always such a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's always awesome to be on, and I've loved the photos.
We love the photos from Ian Lowe, Donald Derrick, Glenn Bennett, Russ Bander, Karen Fedluck, and Louise Werney. Thank you so much for sending us some photos and brightening up everybody's day. Sarah Shapiro Award, a certified professional dog trainer with When Hounds Fly Dog Training. And that is it for our show today. Thank you so much to everyone who called in and emailed us photos and joined the discussion. You can always email bctoday@cbc.ca. You can listen to the show again on the CBC Listen app, and you can watch us on demand at CBC Vancouver on YouTube. Thanks so much to our team here on the show as well. Rachel Adams, Alan Regan, George Baker, Mel Carter, Mark Fairfield, and Greg Kisser, with help from Michelle Morton this week. Thanks as well to Brenda Kilpatrick, Amber Parmar, and Megan Zwick. I'm Michelle Eliot. Thank you very much for listening and watching to BC Today. And I hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday.